Live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, it's your boys, the Cannonball, the Cannon, the Steel Twins. What's up, everybody? It's your boys, the Cannonball and the Cannon. It is voice acting night, and we are at, I'm going to go ahead and slide this back up. This, my friends, is the second
of the third part.
Yep. So this is our 3-part season finale, and this is part 2. Part 1 was last week. So we are on a bit of a time crunch, but I am told this episode will take less than 2 hours if we are wise. So in that respect, we have to skip to our favorite part of the episode anyway, one of them. If you have a cap to your bottle or a pin on your drink, you go ahead and pull that pin back because package, what time is it?
Time to get bombed.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. No time to waste. The game is afoot.
And shout out to the Detroit Football Lions.
That's right. This is going to be our year.
I got a feeling, there's definitely some music in the air when it comes to this. So
I say it's division title or bust.
Yeah, I totally agree. I absolutely agree. So we nerfed the mic a little bit, but I think everything is still great. We're in the courtroom. So last time we were here, Ryunosuke Naruhodo escaped by the skin of his very teeth in his last trial. But we are about to go down a rabbit hole that, mark my words, kids, is going to be more trippy than the time I did, than somebody doing mushrooms. Who, I don't know, but we are Alice chasing after the white rabbit. So, it's time for part 2 of the resolve of Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Time to earn your bread, Ryunosuke.
Indeed. Okay. And welcome everyone that's watching. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street.
Ooh, Thanksgiving, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. 3rd of November, 8:07 p.m. Sholmes Suite.
It's a few weeks out, but whatever. It must be All Saints Week. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more wearing day than Mikatoba and I, no? You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor, Asogi, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed.
Oh, Naruhodo.
I mean, it's incredible to think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. That was surprising enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. All this started almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France.
Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Ikoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man.
Poor Professor Mikatoba. This must be quite a shock for him. Yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday.
You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well.
Oh, you've had a reply already? What was so urgent though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters could wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present.
Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone.
Ah, and what a feast it is! If I were none the wiser, I think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding.
My mouth is watering.
Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up.
Ready your breakfast and eat hearty, for tonight we dine in hell!
Or something like that. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well.
Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there.
Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening?
Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy.
For me?
That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey.
I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you.
It's a shame, really.
What do you mean?
Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half sisters, I mean.
What?
Oh!
What?
Oh! What? What the? Oh my gosh!
What? Iris, do you mean?
Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I left.
What? Oh boy.
Oh boy.
The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikatoba are Iris's father. Yes, about that, Iris. You know
I know. You can't tell me at the moment.
Oh, Iris.
The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Oh, no, that's quite all right.
Then why don't I get any apologetic pheasant? Jesus. So just who is Iris's father? I suppose it's not something we'll be finding out today.
Well, we'll find out soon, ladies and gentlemen.
And buckle up, boneheads, when that happens. So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot.
A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious.
Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds.
I always come for seconds, by the way.
This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away.
Well, what you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? What's he doing sitting like that? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikatoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes.
Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy.
Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss.
No shit.
Them Sholmes with the dad jokes.
Well,
All
talk
right,
to him.
That's right. So we're going to converse. The telegram from Japan. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? This? I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson.
Wow.
What? Those 4 names!
Uh-oh.
We've come across that exact same list before! They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. Oh boy. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So why are the names coming up again now?
Yes. Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes?
I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. What? Why'd he put Runo's name in there?
I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature.
Oh, our old friend.
You asked Inspector Hasanaga to undertake such an onerous task for you?
And in my name? I wonder what guys he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand?
Anyway, the list of names was found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted.
So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was...
It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient.
Oh. I mean, is it... Let me know when we're supposed to do the deal. The big deal. I don't believe it.
But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies.
I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Telegram from Japan has been entered in the court
A
record.
telegram from Inspector Hasanaga in Japan with details of the telegram he managed to locate by stealing in the Judge Jigoku's office. Kazuma's death.
This is the one. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Burya was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan.
His remains, you mean?
Precisely, Mr. Sato. And then I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead.
Oh my! You mean...
The arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruto. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely.
But there's no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer.
The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. So, you manipulated me! I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it!
But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her?
Oh boy. Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. I seem to remember Mrs. Sato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then.
I wonder that myself. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain?
The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see.
Oh!
An omen that at this very moment in time is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? What? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows.
Well, we'll hand him the telegraph, see what he knows.
Sure, absolutely. Let's look at this. Rickard found is implicated. Okay, this is exactly what what Sholmes said.
Back out.
I know back out, but give me a second. Evacuation drill notice, 31st of October. Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 p.m. in order to review evacuation procedures. The drill will take 20 minutes. Crew to resume duties as soon as the drill is over. Yeah, this is what we failed to read at the last episode.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So, okay. Oh yeah. Duh. You go to
Easy does it, kid.
Easy Seabiscuit. Present the telegram.
Yes.
There was no room for doubt with your instructions on this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched. So, you obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found.
K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson.
We only learned of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now. and only because they appeared as part of the top secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes, but at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. Ah! It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments.
Listen to this music.
You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Sherlock Holmes when he has designs on knowing it.
Oh my! Mr. Sholmes! What a fabulous line!
Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. Ah! As soon as I learnt of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow.
Mr. Sholmes, please! Tell us all you know! Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected!
Alright, the 4 names. As I said, when I learnt of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names. Because you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased. What? Who? A Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed, and accordingly I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list.
Ah! Asogi and T. Gregson!
Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain. Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent this study tour from going ahead. Because he thought Kazuma's life was in danger. Exactly.
So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes?
Oh yes. Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course.
So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know.
Oh, Iris!
I know he wasn't my daddy, but still, that's very sad.
I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you.
No,
What you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis.
A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh yes. You mean about Asa Shin, I presume.
Oh, of course!
Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Josiah Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel.
Ah!
And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding these 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? What kind of word is that?
Topsy hypothesis.
What do you mean when you say your hypothesis will turn topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken.
Very much so. Asa Shin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it?
Indeed, and it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. Ah!
Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions.
So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asa Shin is because he was the target of an assassination. Holy shit! And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you there is another among the 4 who subsequently became a visiting student?
Wait.
Wait, you mean... But of course, a name you know only too well.
Here we go.
You mean Kazuma? What the heck is going on here? I mean, they talked about it last episode, but still, what? There's proof? What? Oh! He did say in court earlier today. Yep.
Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission.
And the mission was?
The assassination of the Mark.
Holy shit! Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now.
Surely not!
In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts, an international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have got involved in something like that? How? What? Let's assume that we have 2 parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those 2 parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange.
So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange.
But what on earth is the point? What indeed?
Yeah, I mean, what is the point? How in the world? Wasting time here.
Yeah, well, brother, I gotta hydrate. This is killing me.
Yes.
Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin is at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction.
Oh, yes.
Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our 2 countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels.
The highest levels? What? These murders were 2 sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated. Yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular, devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot.
But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seisho Jikogu at all.
Oh.
It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson.
What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the mark?
Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
I held myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe.
Mr. Sholmes.
I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position,
In France, right?
obviously with the young pickpocket in tow.
Gina.
Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition, that he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
All right, everyone. That's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Harley? I mean, it's the time.
Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations?
Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember.
He's smiling about it.
It is a little bit sad, though.
Huh?
I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister.
Sorry, Iris.
I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing.
Were you?
But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister.
What? Really?
Oh yes, without question.
So, you'll teach me all the ways you know how to throw Runo to the floor?
Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure.
You didn't have to agree quite so readily.
Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo.
Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. I like that laugh. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister.
What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what?
Oh, you'll see.
You just have to wait and see.
Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course.
Well, that was quick, wasn't it?
It's just the appetizer, dude. So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths whilst posting new conundrums. That list of 4 names on a telegram in Judge Chigoku's office. An extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Aww, I'm gonna turn purple. I'm gonna cry. I'm just kidding. To be continued. Well, it's only been half an hour, kids. We can't stop now.
Nope, we go forward.
Forward.
Well, let's not waste any time. As I say, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Charge!
4th of November, 9:30 a.m. Straight to the Old Bailey courtroom. Let's go.
Yeah, this is the eve of Guy Fawkes Day, ironically.
Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice. The discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve. Yes, that's my intention.
My lord, if I may inquire,
The defendant may speak.
on what grounds is Kazuma Asogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor?
He hasn't said a word since the last episode ended.
He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution.
I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day.
You did what?
In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this 1 day.
Kazuma,
Whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. Remember that. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper.
Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory.
Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us?
As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted this prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume.
Yes, my lord.
In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barok van Zieks.
The defense is ready, my lord.
The prosecution is more than ready.
Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin.
As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seshiro Jakogu into the courtroom.
At last, then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth.
Whoosh!
Come on, Ryunosuke. It's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit.
Damn right, son. Listen to that music.
Oh, boy.
Witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
So it was you who issued this, was it?
Your subpoena? I did what was necessary.
Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you dig that toe with me, I must say.
The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked.
My name is Seshiro Jakogu, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan.
16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I am I am, of course, fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation.
It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put my all into that treaty.
Judge Jigoku, I must ask.
Well, I never. Fancy the young mothering students turning up here of all places.
The hell is that supposed to mean? You acquitted me yourself. And now I'm a practicing defense lawyer.
Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see.
You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France.
Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase.
Then explain yourself! What exactly were the circumstances?
Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment.
What?
Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be a questionable etiquette. But my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify.
Unrelated, you say?
I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that.
So you would run from all this?
I beg your pardon.
This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean?
That's right! And you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases! The defense has evidence to prove it.
Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Sessho Jikogu is involved in this case?
All together, everybody.
Take that!
This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained 4 names: K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson.
Mother!
You little...
Where did you get that?
In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku.
What? How on earth did you?
What's this all about? Why is my name on that list?
This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. K. Asogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins.
No!
A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. Remember that case?
Yes.
The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Josiah Brett, but her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain.
A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson.
And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector, Tobias Gregson.
K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other.
What exactly is the defense suggesting?
These two cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. And the telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill.
What? What?
Extraordinary.
Unbelievable.
The telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you!
Judge Jigoku, what's this all about?
And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract.
Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie.
Huh?
The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seisho Jikoga was the mark came entirely from you.
Ah! You deliberately avoided saying a name? The defense claims these four names... Let me try that again. The defense claims these four names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? His silence only goes to prove his guilt.
There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse.
Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court.
There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know.
Seems this Japanese gentleman has information the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st of October. Present your formal testimony now.
As you wish, my lord.
Well, nobody's commented yet.
Nope.
We'll probably get a lot of it after the fact. Witness testimony. The assassin exchange.
It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times.
Really?
Had there been a shot fired, the crew would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved.
Well... So you admit it then? As this communication suggests, there really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan.
A political endeavor at the highest levels, not something I can discuss here.
To use such a worthy practice as a foreign duty to coerce somebody to commit murder is the most appalling thing I've ever heard.
Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge.
Pardon?
Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know.
What?
Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel?
Kazuma-sama.
Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain.
I'm not obliged to divulge that information.
As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case.
Bullshit.
The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it.
That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London in the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barok van Zieks. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged.
To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings. Clearly, it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge, such as the witness, could hope to execute.
Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything.
Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, counsel? Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. Wow, okay. All right, well, I'm going to get right to the pink meat here, all right? Let's go. So it's not this statement, it's not this statement, it's not this statement, it is this statement.
On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times.
At all times?
Oh, shit.
Remember this note from last episode?
Yep.
All crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 p.m. in order to review evacuation procedures.
The drill will take 20 minutes.
Let's hit him with it.
Objection!
Damn it, that's my line.
Sorry.
Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times.
What?
I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st.
What? Where did you get that?
It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember.
Herlock Sholmes again!
According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill.
All crewmen were away from their posts?
And during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Is this for real?
Objection! A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryunosuke, but it amounts to nothing.
Why?
Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin.
Oh, shut up.
Unless you have some decisive evidence that could show his testimony to be false, your accusation is nothing more than conjecture.
Very true. Well, counsel?
Oh, I think you know what it is.
Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night,
I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. You will present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Judge Jigoku's cabin on the 31st of October? Well, first of all, let's examine this. Let's see if we can put it together. You see these little things all over the place, don't you? It's the part on the top of a pocket watch that you twist to set the time, isn't it?
It's called the crown, I believe. A watch will be quite useless without one.
The crown? Like what sits on top of a monarch's head. A very grand name for such a tiny part. But actually,
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo?
if this is a crown, I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head.
If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Well then,
Let's take a look. So here's the thing, right? Look at this, huh? What do you think, Mrs. Sato?
I feel sure I know exactly what will fit here.
Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing.
We're about to see that the little round component is actually part of Inspector Grexon's broken pocket watch.
Really? I was just thinking precisely that too. Ta-da!
Yay! A perfect fit!
I knew it! All right, perhaps you knew it.
I'll make a note of this new information at once.
The details of the small component have been updated in the court record.
It's now clear that it's the missing crown of Inspector Grexon's pocket watch.
I think it's important that we did that.
Yes, it is. Because now...
So now here's your proof. All together, everybody.
1, 2, 3.
Take that! Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch.
A pocket watch.
And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill in the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku.
Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer?
Oh my gosh. Spare me.
Objection! Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke.
Huh?
And your argument sounds entirely plausible. At first. But rather like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks.
What?
And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way.
I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year.
Sorry?
If I knew that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast.
Damn, that's harsh.
Yeah, man.
I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony.
When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall into which you've stumbled.
Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume.
Yes, I do.
Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st of October.
Of course. As a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice.
We'll see about that.
Spare me.
Witness testimony.
Isn't it obvious because of the black suit and the black gloves, though? I mean, come on.
I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an ipensiri throw, though he couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with this murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain because his body was found in London.
Okay.
A
No.
little bit more information on that.
Iponseo?
A common jiu-jitsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you?
What?
The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves that the victim's murder took place there.
Ah!
I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death.
Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell.
Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord.
But if this testimony holds, Judge Shigoku will be deemed to have had no involvement in the case. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination. Whoosh!
Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that.
You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten.
In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo.
Let's see what story says.
Yep.
Cross-examination time. The events in the cabin. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an iponsiri throw, though he couldn't wait for it to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with this murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain because his body was found in London.
Hold it! But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive.
Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through now, Stripling.
What?
If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at that same spot. It's a devil of a thing.
Well, then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body.
How exactly? Carrying a corpse off a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, do you think?
Well, yes, that's true, but
All passenger luggage is inspected when it is unloaded from arriving vessels, and I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage.
Wait a minute now. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain.
ugh, let's kill that idea then.
But perhaps not.
Mrs. Sato?
We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in the sea.
Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative.
Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you?
Huh.
I thought I'd been perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I'll have to alter my testimony, with your consent, of course, my lord.
I have no objection. State your amended testimony now.
There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain.
Oh, yes, there is.
Now,
You know that photo? What about that?
Oh, that's right. Because we were talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah.
Objection! There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say. I would say the opposite is true.
And what's that supposed to mean?
Far from being impossible for you to do. The transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do.
What are you talking about, Ryunosuke?
As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London.
Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Ah, I knew you were jealous.
Wow, you need to hydrate, bro.
Yeah, I can pause.
I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku.
See that bead of sweat?
Yeah. It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside.
Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting...
I'm afraid I am. Yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. What a madness! Order! Order! Order in court! I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple. Wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku?
But inside his trunk? How horrifying!
And after we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body.
I don't have to listen to this nonsense.
Dr. Gory, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She's acknowledged there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. And I want to take a quick look at the autopsy report, the updated one. Autopsy? No, that's the wrong one. I want this one.
Twice Gregson, male, 45, British.
Time of death indeterminate. Evidence suggests measures may have been taken to disguise the time of death.
Victim was shot in the chest at a close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind.
Additional observations. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between.
What if it's in the...
Yes, I'm sure they are. But one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. And the SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikitoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer.
Well, this is all very heartening.
He's not going to go down without a fight.
Nope. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour.
What are you talking about now?
Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already.
Judge Shigoku, please! Stop diverting attention from the issue at hand! The defense has made an accusation against you! How do you respond?
Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there?
Why ever not?
Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical.
The actual scene of the crime.
The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Barok van Zieks, shot the victim at point-blank range.
Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale.
I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling.
The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly? I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim. That's the only fairy tale here.
How can you say that?
Quite simply. Because that claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession.
Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court now, don't you?
The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. Okay, take a look.
Take that!
Take that!
A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed?
Yes, but the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, it's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that.
Idiotic!
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. He could easily have adopted that fetal position due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal.
Objection! I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jigoku, but it's your logic that's flawed.
What?
According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now.
You're suggesting...
The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street before it was coldly turned out on the floor from the inside of a large travel trunk.
No! You're quite right. The shape of the body, it looks exactly as if it had been kept in a confined space.
Well, this is utterly deplorable. Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood. He's starting to crack.
Present my trunk! I refuse!
What? On what grounds?
I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Empire of Japan! I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations!
In other words, Judge Jigoku, there is blood in your trunk.
I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges of...
Objection! At this moment, you're not a government minister. You are a witness in a trial in Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be, you will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Order! Order in court! Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be?
You can't be serious! You did it?!
Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asogi?
What?
Very well. I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense.
What? You, dear God! Outrageous! So it was you! You admit to Inspector Gregson's murder!
No! I admit to nothing more than what I've said!
Ah!
Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection.
What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean?
I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else.
You can't still deny it! If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man?
As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he'd already accepted the mission to take the inspector's life.
Oh!
That's right. Who else it could have been? It was you, Kazuma Asogi! You!
What is going on here?
I never thought you'd stoop to this, Sessho Jikogu!
You've taken the words straight out of my mouth. Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you?
Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question.
Yes, on an assassination mission, no less.
You wouldn't!
Huh. So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more.
I don't believe this!
Counsel for the defense, what is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Jigoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asogi is impossible. Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claimed that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process.
It is, no question.
Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. Here we go.
What?
The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asogi's involvement?
Well, here we go, baby.
Take that! This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof.
An itinerary? How does that prove anything? Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant.
What? Why?
On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin.
Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate.
So that tells us the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock, as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this: when the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at that time. But Prosecutor Asogi stated in yesterday's proceedings,
I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. See that?
which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Asogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing.
Not that! No! Absolutely not! I don't accept that at all!
What do you mean?
The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself! We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel! Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship!
Oh, shut up.
Just waiting for his chance to come back!
Objection! No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma?
As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify and undeniable proof.
No!
There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jigoku?
It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already.
Heads up, neighbors. Whoa, shit! Broke another witness stand.
It's over. My life is over.
Oh, boy. Poor bastard.
Oh, man.
A British assassin to eliminate the professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate the detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade a conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand.
And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain, and you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement.
because I was already on my way to Britain at that time in Kazuma's place.
Me trying to figure out the IEKA instruction manuals.
Hey, Briz.
Briz, welcome to the chat, man.
Evening, Gov. You just missed the party.
And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that.
The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume.
That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. So I enlisted the help of my British counterpart and made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper.
But what? The Reaper?
But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself.
Ah!
So, that means that the assassin exchange was all planned by the Reaper.
Oh, man.
I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steam ship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death.
Oh, how awful.
It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time, waiting.
For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock.
I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came round and went for me in a reckless move. Bang!
Bang.
I received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that.
So the revolver belongs to you, does it?
Mm-hmm. Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse, which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street.
The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body upon deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room.
And then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police.
I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London.
In that case, you must have known. You must have had intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule.
Gonna have to love you and leave you, lad. It's been a long day. All right.
Yep.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for stopping by, even for a moment.
Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification.
Ah!
I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk.
That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then. Oh my God.
Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers.
Ms. Venus, of course.
I conceived the candle trick there and then, so I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate the gunshot.
What sort of disguise?
For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case, so I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself in that than I would have otherwise.
The hairpiece we found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Red-Headed League investigation.
Well, I arrived at the room at around 4:45, So I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later.
So that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap.
Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder.
What was that?
I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips.
Ah!
I didn't notice that it had fallen out of this overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but, well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabinet accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did.
Holy shit.
Wow. Thanks again, Briz, for stopping by.
I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty.
An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea.
Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us. Enough!
I've already told you that I cannot say.
Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again?
What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished.
Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. And therefore, Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found
On 3.
guilty. And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. Somebody replace the bloody witness stand. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Oh, wonderful! Well done, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, thank you.
Is something wrong?
I'm just a little troubled by his silence.
The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange, we do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion.
I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor.
As you wish. Now, for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant Barok van Zieks!
Objection!
What? Oh boy.
The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred.
Counsel?
The accused innocence hasn't been fully established at all, and therefore it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position.
What?
But Judge Shikoku has already confessed. Nevertheless, Barok van Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished.
Well, would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi.
Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jikoku, but it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot, into this sick, merciless assassin exchange.
That may be true, but
So what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? Ugh. The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself.
Well, certainly that would appear to follow.
The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barok van Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt.
what? Well, that's
It ain't-
absolutely extraordinary.
This isn't over yet.
Order! 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 The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build a case?
Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper. Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed.
What do you mean?
It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That it is the prosecution's intention here.
I must say I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name.
You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes.
That explains Kazuma's silence before. He'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago.
Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, I will on this occasion grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with the Reaper and the assassin exchange.
I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely.
I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing.
Oh boy.
Here we go again.
Another round.
Are you ready for round two?
Pray turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice.
Lord Van Zieks!
I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now, and ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all.
Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey.
And what says the defense?
Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous, and Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically.
You're right that he's not himself, but I knew it would be like this, and I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise, as a lawyer and as his friend.
Then that's what we must do.
The defense has no objection, my lord.
Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange.
As you wish, my lord.
Okay, I actually skipped this part, so I'm completely in the dark here. I kind of forgot about this.
The Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson.
I don't
Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the Assassin Exchange.
There is a common thread, my friend.
So you deny all accusations by the prosecution, both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey and that you masterminded the Assassin Exchange.
I acknowledge that the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy, which I alone am in a position to forswear.
Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue.
How?
Ryunosuke Naruhodo,
Yes?
let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom?
Ugh. A desire to uncover the truth.
Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty?
From all my experiences in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in pursuit of the truth.
I want you to remember what you just said.
Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed to cross-examine the witness.
Yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction, you're convinced, lies somewhere within this man's testimony.
Well, time to find it.
Yep. Let's just, have story. Reaper and the Assassination Exchange.
I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson.
That's not true. And I think it's the autopsy. I think it's Clint's autopsy.
Objection.
Yes, I was right. Objection.
What is this? An autopsy report? Wait, this is 10 years old. From the autopsy of Lord Great van Zieks.
What? My brother's autopsy report?
I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth.
Order in court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here, counsel?
The autopsy report of the professor's final victim, is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant.
Not that accursed name again. The professor.
I've personally researched all of the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time, autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls, and for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Great van Zieks, it was unthinkable.
that someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure.
And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document.
As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Gensen Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind.
Indeed, that was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zieks here to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelous victory in court.
A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true. What?
Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and sent him to his death. That's outrageous!
And now, 10 years later, for some reason, the secret has been threatened and needs protecting, which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain, using the two killers recruited for the assassin exchange.
Oh, my lord! Order! Order at once!
10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer to be sentenced to death.
But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I'd prove it, which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost.
You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese's tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer.
Come on, Kazuma! You know this won't wash! You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago! You must see that without evidence, that's nothing more than a wild accusation!
As it happens, I have evidence.
What?
As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Seishiro Jigoku. But my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. What truth?
The truth about the evidence. And he acknowledged what I'd already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in that autopsy 10 years ago. What? A secret? I knew nothing of any secret. While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword Karuma before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was. Mate, I see. You're like Asogi's young lad, are you? And what? You're gonna cut me down with that thing, is that it?
That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth. That's all.
Before I get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was a professor. There's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately, back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So, you admit it then? The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated? It was for the good of the country. Anyway, he was just following orders. Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak! I'm not saying another word. Even if your life depends on it. That's right. Even then.
So that explains the fragment of metal in his trunk. So that's when the tip of the sword broke.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
Broke.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
Let's take a quick look at it real quick. Can't find anything out of place. Karuma, the great blade. Such a thing of beauty. I want to gaze on it for hours.
There's the broken tip.
The tip of the great sword. Broken. Such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. I can almost hear Karuma's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen.
He certainly has. Now go back.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, let's keep going.
If the results of Clint Van Zieks' autopsy were fabricated, then the investigating officer Gregson and the lead coroner Wilson must have known about it, and they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barok van Zieks.
Hold on a second. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins.
Exactly. And as was established earlier, it has to have been the Reaper himself who liaised with Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange.
Ah!
So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of the man who stands accused in this courtroom today, Barok van Zieks.
Oh my lord! It can't be.
Objection! Kazuma Asogi. What? What you've just told the court, are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission. In that case, I know. The name of the Reaper. What?
Lord Van Zieks.
I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one.
If Lord Van Zieks isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there is only one other person who could have done something like that. And remember, Package, remember who was supposed to prosecute that case before?
I think I know who that is.
I believe I know who it is too.
You?
I just had a feeling this name was going to come up. The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is...
All together, everybody!
Take that! The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy results is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Mail Strongheart!
What? Lord Strongheart?
This is absolutely outrageous!
I can't believe this!
Yes, it's true that 10 years ago, the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court. But he only took over the case after his brother, Lord Clint Van Zieks, had been killed. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Well, Lord Van Zieks?
10 years ago, I was very new to my profession, but I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all the evidence I was given, the autopsy report, it all came from you. I've spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now. I was very much mistaken.
It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Seisho Jigoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey.
The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense.
It doesn't warrant a response. Huh? A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense. A wild fantasy at best.
You're not going to defend yourself?
You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Clint Van Zieks' autopsy? That's utterly untrue.
Objection! Objection! But I heard it from Gregson's own lips! He admitted to it!
And where is your evidence?
What?
Gregson's dead now, unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand.
You mean to say?
I forget how the system works in your little backwater country, but in the courts of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Ah! Order! Order in court! Following Inspector Gregson's murder, and in light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago. Is there?
So that was the real purpose of the assassin exchange.
This court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it that there are no objections.
Kazuma. He's more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Van Zieks' autopsy.
Oh yeah,
There is someone. He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks, even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to ensure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Scythe won't say anything against Strongheart. But there's still one ray of hope.
objection!
Objection! Actually, there is one person. One person who could still testify about that autopsy.
Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left.
Who, Rinosuke? Who? Tell me!
Kazuma,
Please! This trial can't end! Not yet!
I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify about the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zieks is...
All together, everybody!
Take that!
Heaven help us. Another Japanese.
An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Eugene Mikitoba. 16 years ago, he came to London with Seisho Jigoku and Genshin Asogi as a visiting student.
And what could his testimony possibly tell us?
Professor Mikitoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report.
Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature.
It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it.
In other words, Professor Mikitoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Mikitoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us.
The defense's demand is denied.
What?
But Professor Megatoba is in London at this very moment. We could summon him to the stand in minutes.
No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself.
Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange.
I did, yes.
So present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete.
At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence. But that's exactly why we need witness testimony.
The Professor case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities.
Objection! But we all know what will happen. That'll just give the mastermind of the whole venture time to cover his tracks again.
By which you mean me? Huh? Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi.
He's gonna lose it.
Yep. Heads up, neighbors, again.
That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over. Court is held it. Mr. Sholmes! This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the courtroom at once.
Objection! Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Seishiro Jigoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say.
Lord Mail Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be?
I'm okay, fam, just so you know.
You need only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer that question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered. It would seem that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along to the prevarications of your superiors? Order! Order in court! It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices. A door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors in the gallery have no rights to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence!
He's right. The judge has absolute authority here.
Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end.
But will that really do? I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed. Is there a single person here present that can honestly say about this the same?
What?
The trial should go on. Summon the witness.
That's right. We need to clear this up before that young Japanese fellow is remanded in custody.
My lord, you assured those present that you would uncover the whole truth here.
Vindicate yourself of this outlandish accusation.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law. A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery. On with the trial.
On with the trial.
Testify!
Testify! Testify! Testify! Well, my lord. You hear the voice of British justice, I take it. I think you'll find it will be rather awkward to silence. The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene. A recess won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Mikatelba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact.
What? Professor Megatoba is here in the courthouse?
Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely. I wasn't just asking for the fun of it, you know. Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes. I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you.
Remember that.
Absolutely. It's still in my pocket. She sends her regards and a reminder. If you find yourself at a dead end, the ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please.
Okay, now I'm insane. Remember that.
Of course. In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand.
It's about to begin, isn't it?
So it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial going to take me, I wonder? Just how deep am I about to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Oh my lord.
Down the rabbit hole we go indeed.
To be continued. So we actually have a plausible identified suspect as the Reaper of the Bailey.
Holy shit.
What?
Well,
So
there's only one way to find out, man. You got
yep,
to.
there's only one way to find out. Tune in next week, August 16th, 2023. We will have the season finale of voice acting as it pertains to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
You do not want to miss it.
Everything comes to a head next week. I'm the Cannonball Alex Steele.
I'm the package Andrew Steele.
We are the Steele Brothers.